on Etsy?
Oh,
Hi everyone, welcome to our Etsy resolution Q&A with Clare Bowditch and Jess Van Den. My name's Jennie Smith and I am the Seller Growth Manager here at Etsy Australia. And it's been really incredible watching all of you as Etsy resolution participants starting or revamping your Etsy shops and following your creative dreams. And most incredible of all has been watching this amazing new community flourish. There has been an incredible vibe of collective support and positivity, which has been really beautiful to be a part of. So thank you. I know that many of you have followed along in real time, read your lessons as they were released, and completed the homework tasks as per schedule, and you are now proud owners of some pretty amazing new Etsy shops. So well done, really amazing work. But from the Facebook group, I can tell that life has definitely gotten in the way for others, and you're working through the programs as time permits. So I just wanted to take a minute to reassure you that the course material and Facebook group aren't going anywhere anytime soon. The lessons will be available for around the next 6 months, so take your time and progress through the material as you are able to. Also, don't forget that if you have your shop ready on or before March 16 and you share a photo of one of your product listings on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram using the hashtag Etsy resolution and including a link to your Etsy shop, you can go in the running to win one of 4 passes to the Big Hearted Business virtual conference. And we've also got a couple of $100 Etsy gift vouchers as well, just as little thanks gifts for coming along on this Etsy resolution adventure. So I'll post that information again in the Facebook group tomorrow. It was also included in the last email on Monday if you haven't had a chance to look at that yet. So if you're wondering about the details, check the email or head over to Facebook. Now, if there's anyone out there watching who's thinking, what is Etsy Resolution? Etsy Resolution is an online boot camp created to help you launch your first Etsy shop. The program is mentored by the lovely Clare Bowditch and the equally lovely Jess Van Den, who is a really successful Australian Etsy seller. The content is still available online, so if you're interested in starting your first Etsy shop or overhauling your current Etsy shop, then just head over to etsy.me/Etsy resolution and you can check it out. So speaking of Clare and Jess, we should probably get them involved at this juncture. Let me first introduce you to our Etsy resolution teacher, Jess Van Den.
hi everybody. Nice to be here.
Thanks, Jess. And of course, we have our amazing mentor, Clare Bowditch.
You can actually just call me a mascot, more of a mascot. I'm an Etsy mascot. I wear Etsy everywhere I go. How you going, everyone? You have to forgive me. In the background, you're going to hear my children. Of course, like many of you out there, it is that special time of night where actually chaos reigns. So, you'll hear slams in the background. You might hear, a dog being walloped or fed. It could go either way. But it's good to be here with you girls. I've missed you guys. It's been a week.
I'm pretty sure there's people who couldn't attend right now because of said witching hour, so follow along later on.
I send them my special love. But yeah, hi everyone who's watching. We can't see you, but I hope you notice how good we look because boy, have we put it on for you tonight.
Awesome. On that note, let's get stuck into the questions. So thanks to those who have submitted their questions ahead of time. We are going to kick off with a question. Let me just find our questions from Sam. And this is a question for Jess. And Sam wants to know, Jess, if you're new on Etsy and you haven't sold any items as yet, how can you instill a sense of trust in your buyers when you don't have any positive feedback?
That's a really good question and a really important thing to do, actually. So the first thing you can do is you can obviously really flesh out your shop. So make sure you have a nice selection of products. Make sure you really focus on that about page, getting that about page spruced up. Use all the photo slots. Have a photo of you in there. Make sure to have links to your social media. Tell your story, and it's all about, being a real person and building trust that way and saying, hey, this is me, this is who I am, this is where you can find me to find out more about me elsewhere online, by having a presence elsewhere, so on Twitter and Facebook or Instagram or whatever, people will check that and go, okay, yeah, this is a real person. You can see behind the scenes, see what they're doing, and so that will help to instill that sense of trust. And another thing you can do, if you're just starting out, you've never made a sale on Etsy, but maybe maybe you have friends or family who buy from you, or have bought from you in the past. So what I suggest you do is actually just reach out to them and say, hey, I've just opened this new Etsy shop, and I know you wanted to buy, that bowl off me. Would you mind buying it through my Etsy shop and leaving me some feedback so that I actually get some sales and some feedback under my belt? So that's a really good thing to do. Reach out to that network that already exists, the people who already buy from you elsewhere, in friends and family especially, and ask them to buy via your Etsy shop and help you build up that reputation that way.
Awesome. Thank you, Jess. All right, we're going to switch it up a little bit now. Introduce Claire's first question and talk about feelings a little more.
Thanks so much. I put on my glasses because it makes me look like a total freaking pro. Look, I've got to admit to everyone out there, this is one of my first times on Google Hangouts, and I'm having a lot of fun, obviously. I don't know. I finally worked out how to turn it off. Hey. All right, let's talk about feelings.
That's a whole different show. Okay, let's talk about feelings, yes. Okay, so Jessica wants to know, in moments, now we have to get serious, in moments when you're feeling plagued with self-doubt, do you have any steps or exercises?
The worst time to get serious, when you're plagued by self-doubt. That's what I always say. Yeah. So do I have any tips? Was that right?
Yes. Do you have any suggestions for breaking that cycle?
Yeah. Okay, so the first thing I want to say is this, and you will have heard all of this before, so I will just talk from my own experience. Never expect not to feel self-doubt, because if you're trying, you are going to feel self-doubt. And there's no two ways about it. If you're pushing past where you're comfortable, which is what happens when we're trying to grow as human beings and when we're confronted by the reality of life, which, it's life is not Instagram. Life is complex and brilliant and beautiful. So hard too. So when I'm in those moments of self-doubt, which I'm on record for saying it happens quite often. Sorry, is that my peace sign earring making noise in the background? Just take that one off. Let's put that to the side. What I always say is back yourself. Okay, so inside ourselves, we've all got someone in our history who saw through our self-doubt, who got us. It could have been a teacher, it could have been a parent if we were lucky, it could have been a friend, it could have been a random stranger on a bus, in a plane. There is always somebody who looked you in the eyes one day and reminded you that you mattered, because of course you do. We all do. And sometimes what's helpful, and what I teach a lot of the people who I work with through Big Hearted Business, is cultivate that voice within yourself, And if you don't have one, then just watch a lot of Oprah Winfrey and start saying, yeah, girl, oh my God, yeah. Like, just get into it yourself. You have to. So that's step one, is back yourself. And I know it sounds basic and simple, but there's no other way around it. There's no way I ever get on stage or, in front of a camera like this with people watching and don't feel self-doubt. So just don't expect it ever to go away. It's just a normal part of being an artist. It's a normal part of putting yourself out there. So the third thing is, go to the songs, the peoples, the places, the art that inspires you, and be reminded that each one of those people, each one of your heroes, each one of the ordinary people on the street, it takes courage to be a human being. So we're all giving it a crack. And just take the special out of it, We all feel self-doubt. Big deal. What's the worst that can happen? You can fail. Big deal. Do it again. So that's what all of my heroes have always said. And that's a good starting place for me. Thirdly, here's a third little thing, which again we hear all the time, but the old question of, okay, so what's the next step? What's the very next tiny little thing that you can do? You don't have to think about running the marathon now. All you have to do is put on your shoes, or you don't have to think about saving the world now. All you have to do is put 5 cents in the tin. So just start anywhere, and that is a really great counteracting action to undermine self-doubt.
Awesome. Yeah, that's been a really cool thing that's been running through the Facebook group for Etsy Resolution as well, is I think when someone's been saying, oh my goodness, I feel really overwhelmed. I don't know what to do
Yep.
next. Someone's always stepping in and saying, you know what, you don't have to worry about what you're going to do
Yep.
tomorrow or in a week. Like, what's like one tiny thing that you can do right now and just focus
That
on
is
that?
such a good
I
point.
really love
Definitely.
And Jenny, what you also said was so true. And Jess, I mean, we've all talked about this before. Um, Being accountable for the fact that we're vulnerable. We know that our girl crush hero, Brene Brown, is all about this. We know that many of the people who we admire are willing to talk openly about the fact that, we feel scared sometimes. And I've always found, just for example, when you're on stage, you can, find yourself sometimes stone cold sober on stage in front of however many thousand people, and you just feel scared. And sometimes the funniest thing to do is, put on your funny gear and just say it. Like, I am literally freaking out here, people. Like, just say it out loud, and the crowd will catch you, as they have in the Etsy Facebook group. And it's good to just say it out loud and say it to the right person too, because, you know. I love my husband, but if I catch him on a busy day and I'm like, I just feel a little bit scared, he's like, great, okay, I'll just go and put the kids to bed now. Like, say it to a girlfriend who's got 2 seconds, and or say it to someone who's got a second to hear you, because otherwise it can double and triple. You can feel, unacknowledged. And my husband would never want me to feel that. I just had to teach him along the way. When I'm feeling this way and I say this, you should say this back. And that's the secret of a happy marriage, I can tell you, me.
Wow, I'm giving free like marriage advice here. This is
Oh, what have you got for Jess? Let's move on. I've said enough now.
all right. Enough about feelings for now. We'll come back to feelings in a minute. We'll take it back to like science.
That's my area.
All right, Jess. So next we have a question from Alison.
Mm-hmm.
And Alison wants to know, when I type the similar product that I make on Etsy search, I see the same sellers in page 1, 2, and 3, and so on. What strategy are they using to get seen?
They are using SEO, the search engine optimization. That's what makes all the difference when it comes to getting seen and being visible in the search results. So my advice would be to actually learn from them. Study their shops. Go in and look at their listings. Look at what terms you've used in your search that's brought them up, and then take that term and go into the listings that are coming up on that first page and examine them. So look at, what's their title, what's their description, what are their tags. Now, you might necessarily be able to see their tags, but if you scroll to the bottom, there's a section where it's like related items, I think it's called, or something like that, and it's actually got a whole lot of tags down there that are actually related to the item that you're viewing. So look at those 3 places, so the title, the description, especially the first paragraph or first sentence of the description, and also those related tags or related item tags down the bottom, and see what they are, like how closely do they align to that keyword that you use to search. How often does that keyword turn up in their listing? So, where are they putting it? Are they putting it at the beginning of the description, the first 2 words of their title, etc.? So use the successful people as someone to look up to, and study what they do to make their listings show up in those kind of coveted positions. And if you do that, and you can learn from that, and that will allow you to alter your own stuff to hopefully compete in that particular keyword space.
And Jess, don't you think you should also rest assured that, of course, they have done the same? We're all learning from each other as we go.
Of course.
And nobody's
That's
sort of
how you
lucked
learn.
upon perfect SEO. So a lot of people, sort of set themselves on guilt trips, and they're trying to learn off people who are who they admire. I think it's absolutely fine to learn off people who you admire. All the masters do it. We spoke about this in your SEO lesson.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the best way to learn is to learn from people who are doing what you're doing, but they're just a few steps ahead of you. So, they've gone through what you're going through now we've all gone through what you're going through now. Nobody just woke up one morning, opened an Etsy shop, and suddenly got everything perfect, and suddenly knew how to do SEO and take their photos. And it's all a learning experience, and it takes time. And it's okay. It's okay if you're not showing up in the first page of the results in the first week of your shop. Just be patient and learn, and learn from those people who have gone before you, and that's the best way to learn, in my opinion.
Yeah, and like the cool thing about SEO is it actually is, like we were saying, a bit of a science. And that's been also in the Facebook group where people have done the SEO lesson and they've applied all of those tips, and then they're writing in saying, "Oh my God, I did it!
Actually worked. It actually worked."
The first page. What?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, if you master it, it really pays off.
Yeah. It does. It does. It really does. And I'll say for me, a majority of my customers come via search. They come via the SEO, and so it is a really important key part of your shop. But it is something you can learn, and you will, be able to figure it out.
Awesome. All right, let's move along. And actually, I have a question now. It's not just the superstars who get a question. I got a question. So the question, thank you, Bronwyn, for addressing me with a question. The question is, can you arrange your tags in order of importance easily, or do you have to delete them and start again? So Bronwyn, the good news is that you don't have to order your tags in order of importance. All tags are weighted equally, so you can just kind of whack them in there in any old order, and they'll all come up with equal weighting. So it's not like your titles where you really want to get those important keywords at the top and to the left, or even in your descriptions. With tags, it's weighted equally, so you don't have to put so much thought into those tags. You can put that all into the titles. So let's go over to Jess again. A question from Tula. And Tula wants to know, is it a good idea to use postage with a tracking service? This way we know if a customer has had their order delivered.
Okay, yes. So it's a difficult one. I can't kind of give it a yes or no answer to that one, but I can talk about whys and why nots. So I'll use myself as an example. I sell small items, okay? I sell jewellery, and I actually deliberately plan so that the majority of my items can go through the slot of doom, as we call it. So that 2-centimetre slot in the post office, which makes things way cheaper to post. Okay, so you can send stuff as large letters instead of sending them as parcels. So number one, that's a nice tip. Now, what I do personally, within Australia, I offer registered post and over a certain price range. So if people buy a certain amount from me, then their shipping it includes registered post, what I charge for shipping. And the reason I do that, obviously, is because it's a higher value item, and I'd really like to know that there's some sort of extra protection there, if I can. So that's great. Now, when it comes to international sales, and on Etsy, probably about 80-85% of my sales are international. Okay, so I don't actually have tracking or registered post or anything as standard, and the reason is because it's so expensive. Even if I can send stuff as a large letter, to send something pack and track to the States, for example, is over $20. So if I had that as standard on all of my products, chances are I wouldn't make as many sales, because at the moment my shipping, my base shipping cost to say the States again is like $4.50 or something like that, because it just covers the shipping and the packaging. And having that low postage cost works really well, because people come and they see a $100 ring and they go, wow, the postage is only $4.50. It's a no-brainer. Like, that's not even going to be an issue. But if the postage is $20 or $25, or gosh, express post to the States is like $60, but people do pay that. But it's not going to be an instant buy, if you know what I mean.
Your clients pay that when they're getting married in about 5 days, and they really
exactly
need those
right.
particular.
Yeah, and yeah, they buy something. Go, I'm getting married next week in America. Can I have my? I'm like,
Get on a plane, come pick it up.
But yeah, it's probably cheaper. No, I'd love to hand deliver anytime. So you know, I offer it as an extra. So I say in my policies, in my shipping section, I say, you know, standard post, and I actually say this in, you know, the automated message that gets sent when someone buys something. And I also send every single customer a personal convo when they buy from me. And I have a very specific scripted uh, email that I send them, and it includes all of this information, and it includes, you know, please be aware you've bought from me, I'm Australia, you're somewhere else, your stuff doesn't include tracking, but if you'd like to have tracking, please let me know and I can tell you the upgrade cost. So I make it very clear that it doesn't have it, but it's an option. So, you know, some people do upgrade, most people don't though. And the honest truth is, you know, I send hundreds of parcels a month all around the world, and probably maybe 2 or 3 of them a year go missing. And to me, it's worth not charging that enormous extra amount of shipping for tracking, because I'm going to be getting so many more sales because I'm keeping my postage prices low. And I'm happy if that, you know, if something goes missing, I'm happy to replace it. I know it's a little bit of extra work for me, and I'm in the position where I can replace it. You know, if you're selling vintage or one-of-a-kind items, you may decide that on those particular items you want to include some form of tracking or register post. And that's the other thing, it doesn't have to be all or nothing. You know, think about maybe some of my cheaper items, I don't worry about it, but for my more expensive or one-of-a-kind items, I do want to make that the shipping on those items tracked or registered, because I can't replace it or I'm not willing to. And so you want to have that insurance there that, you know, if something does go missing, it should be able to be found, or that you'll at least be able to claim, you know, insurance through the post office or something like that to stop you from being out of pocket. So yeah, it really depends on what you sell, it depends on your price points, it depends on where you sell to, and it depends on the risk you're willing to take as a business owner. But you know, honestly, if you do make reproducible items like I do, don't, and you know, you've never sold online before, don't get too scared about this whole stuff going missing. It really doesn't happen very often, thankfully. But you just have to have a policy in place, and this comes back to knowing what you want. You know, have those policies, think through all of these things beforehand as much as you possibly can, and get policies in place for them for your own peace of mind, and also so your customer knows where they stand from the get-go, and you're not, you know, surprising them with they get in touch, my stuff's gone missing, what are you going to do? And you're like, I have no idea because I've never thought about it. Think about it, have something in place, and go from there.
Fantastic. Cool.
Good. She's good.
She's good. She's here for a reason. Hey, we're just going to stay on postage for a sec while we're on it before we start talking about feelings again. I'll do the next question about postage. So this question is from Robin, again for Jess, unless you want to add your feelings about postage, Claire.
Great.
More about international postage, especially other countries, and what this means to me as an Australian seller. Why do lots of Etsy stores have a disclaimer of some sort saying you need to know the import duties for your country? What are they talking about?
Okay, so some countries have taxes on imports. I'll use the UK as an example because that's one that I have quite a few customers from the UK, and I've had a few of them get caught out with this before because they haven't bought maybe from overseas before, possibly, or they haven't bought what I sell from overseas, because those taxes and import duties can vary depending on the product, like the material of the product, how much it is worth, and all of those sorts of things. Now, we as Etsy sellers can't be au fait with the tax laws and customs laws of every country in the world that we sell to. Okay, so we have to be aware that it does happen, and so that is why shops have that disclaimer, because they know that this is going to happen to some people in certain countries, that when they go to pick up their parcel, somebody's going to turn around and go, you owe us this much money because of X. You know, you've bought 2 silver rings worth $200, and we tax imports on silver, and we tax it depending on the price on the packet. And you know, that's nothing to do with me. That's their country's laws, and there's nothing I can do about it. I can't know ahead of time what that's going to be. So it's important to just have that disclaimer there, so that when a customer does come back to you with a, hey, I didn't know this was going to happen, you can say, I'm really sorry it was a surprise, but it is my policy that. And that's why policies are important, because they protect you, because you can refer back to them. So, I had a customer that happened to a little while ago. He was polite about it and everything. It wasn't a problem, but he just let me know that had happened. And I said, thanks for letting me know and contacting me about that. Because, the first thing I want a customer to do if they have any issues is get in touch with me. That's really important. And maintaining that relationship with your customer. But, helping to educate your customers if possible as well. So, if you do ship stuff to somewhere that has a tax or duty on what you sell, maybe even include it in your little message when you email that person and say, hey, just in case you're not aware, if you haven't bought from overseas before, or you haven't bought this sort of thing, your country does tax this item. And, I'm not saying go out and research this, but over time you'll pick it up, and over time you'll learn which countries do things and which countries don't. So that's what that's all about. And again, it's just about you being as educated as you can, but also helping your customers to be educated about what goes on at their end of the transaction.
Cool. Makes sense. Thanks, Jess. Hey, I just want to quickly say to Alison, if you're watching, because I can see you're posting in the Facebook group, asking about submitting a question. We did actually take the questions in advance for this Q&A, purely because we really wanted to get a sense of what the most important questions were, and the most popular questions, so we could get Claire and Jess to address those. So we do have the questions mapped out for tonight, which is why there's nowhere for you to put in a question to submit. However, if there's questions that you've got still outstanding at the end of tonight, just pop them on Facebook, and we will answer them in due time over there. Okay, let's talk about feelings. Ready, Claire?
I'm ready. You might have noticed I've had a change of hairdo just for this question. So the hair's a bit wet. I've been swimming. Yesterday I was the same. Today I'm the same. But I think it kind of works in with the slick look. What do you think?
Yeah.
Right. Do you notice how scary it is to talk about feelings? So every time it comes up, I have to crack a bit of a joke before we actually go into it. All right, I'm ready now.
I thought you were just showing off that even after swimming, your hair still looks good.
I highly doubt that. Oh, God. But thank you. That's very kind.
Okay, so this is a question from Rosie. So she says, in the book, The Divided Heart, Art and Motherhood, it mentions that Claire was breastfeeding her baby during the time her career was getting off the ground. Claire, if you could go back and give yourself some advice or encouragement with regards to breastfeeding and being a mother while starting your career, what would you say?
Okay, so that was from Rosie, yeah?
It was.
Hi, Rosie, and hi, everyone. Here's the truth of it. The Divided Heart was, I'll just sort of let you know what that is first. For those of you who don't know, it's a cult book. It's actually, I'm happy to say, I've just had news that it is being reissued. It's a book that has been handed around from mother to mother in mother's group. I just got a call from Missy Higgins the other day asking for my copy. Everyone in the world wants a copy of this book. And it was a book that was written by an author called Rachel Power, who happened to be my neighbour. So when I was writing my first full-length album, solo album, What Was Left, Rachel was writing The Divided Heart, and Rachel Power is she's an incredible writer, and the point of this book was to interview Australian artists who happen to also be mothers and have a conversation that wasn't being had at the time. So this is 12 years ago, and I have to say from the outset, from the get-go, yeah, I felt like an anomaly having a music career and not getting serious about my music career until I had children. That's not the normal, way that we apparently build our careers. But I say, who gives a rat's? Like, there is no normal when it comes to building a career. I only got interested in having a so-called career in music when I became a mother and thought, wow, this thing of doing the thing that I love will allow me to potentially be the kind of mum I want to be. So, and that meant being around for my kid, being creatively fulfilled, and not working a job where I had no control. So for most Etsy sellers or anyone who has their own small business, this is why we start it, because you want some control. And the story that she's referring to is really, I was called in to mushroom music to Michael Gudinski's publishing company to talk about signing my first ever publishing deal. And the choice at this point is, do I count myself out because it's awkward bringing a child into a boardroom, you know? But I had the kind of kid who we could actually get away with it. If I had had twins first, this might not have been so easy because you have to actually completely undress to breastfeed twins, which I did. For all of my friends and neighbours will attest to this. So here's the truth. What I always say is you just get on with it. You know, I just said to Linda, who's awesome, listen, I'm actually a mum. I've got a kid. Is it all right if I bring her to the meeting? And she was down with it, and you know, we just rolled with it. So what I guess I'm trying to say is, you do the best you can. You don't count yourself out. You do the opposite. You know, breastfeeding is, or feeding a kid, or being a mum, being a parent. These things are not separate from our business or our life. For those of us who choose to be parents, we don't choose it so that we can sort of quarter off our life, and there is the family, and here is the work, and so on. You know, we want to be able to we want to be able to be true to who we are. And so for me, that meant taking the kids on tour, having them with me, being utterly floored, stopping touring during times where it was too tough for us to tour with kids, bringing mum on the road, just all sorts of various compromises, you know, so-called compromises. But guess what? The whole of life is a compromise, and you know, and that's fine. That's good. So Rosie's actual question again, before I go way off on my super tangent, Jen, can you remind me what she was actually specifically asking?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're answering it, but she's asking if you could go back and give yourself some,
right.
what would it be?
Yeah.
I think
you know what I'll go back and do, which is exactly what I do when I see women in the park doing it. I would say, you are doing a far better job than you think you are doing. You were doing a far better job just giving it a crack. You know, we lived on, I remember on you know, beans the first year Asher was born. I think we lived on about $19,000. It took years and years and years for us, you know, to actually be making the living and able to do the things that lucky musicians sometimes do, which we've been able to do, like buy a house and live overseas and have some choice. So all of that financial stuff, if you've got your craft set and you've got your heart in the right place and you're in it for the long haul, you're in with half a chance, you know. So you may as well give it a crack while you can. And if it doesn't work out from a financial point of view, you still have to make the art. You still have to feed that part of yourself, because that is what makes this, from my experience, this is what allows me to be a present mum with my kids, is that I still have my creative life, you know. And I think there's a part of me that would be utterly heartbroken if I'd given it up because I thought I wasn't doing it well enough, which, you know, the truth is often I thought that. Second point, have a friend like Rachel Power. Be honest with the other girls in your crew. You know, start your own goddamn mothers group with other artists in your area. Put a sign on Facebook. Non-psycho artistic mothers, meet here at the park at this time, you know, whatever. Just don't try and do it on your own and be a hero and have to do it all. The myth of do it all is false, absolutely false. We've talked about this a million times. Don't for a second buy into the idea that you're supposed to be having it all together all the time. We learn as we go. And that's what we did. We started a crew of buddies in our local area. Some of us, we knew each other well, some we didn't at all. And we spent time together just, you know, having a cup of tea for 2 hours every Tuesday morning. We all happened to be artists, and it felt good to be around people who got it. You know, some say that being an artist is indulgent. Most of us now know the opposite is true. When we connect with our creativity, we're more able to be in the world and be happy in the world. So you can see I feel pretty strongly about it, but as I said, the good news is that Rachel Power's book is being reissued. Go to a blog like Meet Me at Mike's. Go and see what Pip Lincoln has to say about it, or, you know, wherever. Just look for people who are willing to speak honestly and openly about it, because it's not a walk in the park, and I salute anyone who gives it a crack.
Yeah, and maybe that's something for us to kind of put on the Empty Resolution Facebook group as well, if there's people who are at stage of life who kind of want to support, then could be a little offshoot or something.
Jen, that's a fantastic idea, and I just want to say one more thing on that point. My kids are now I've got one in year 7, and so that means I'm 12 years into my serious music career, with the other 10 before, where I was just mucking around and saying it was just for fun. And I've got 2 8-year-old boys, identical twins, and I just want to reflect back now. They are so happy and excited to have parents who are around, and running your own business allows you to be around to some degree. And they're starting to get that. The other day they came along to a gig. Often they can't come to a gig because of all sorts of health and safety regulations, not the least of which is I might have a nervous breakdown if my kids run onto stage halfway through a show. Happened a number of times. No, it's often awesome, but some days it doesn't work. So the other day they came to a show. I guess what I'm saying is they're happy that their parents are artists. It's not the other way around. So anyway.
Awesome. Love it. Thanks, Claire. All right. Let's soldier on.
Sorry, hang on. I'm just going to do this for myself. Yeah, thank you very much. See, I'm really getting into this Google Hangout. What I've just done, ladies and gentlemen at home, is I've used the sound effect on the sidebar. Excuse me.
We do need to try on some effects outfits in a minute. Okay, so instead of doing that, it sounds really fun. Let's talk about GST. Putting the sexy back in GST. If anyone can do it, it's our friend or Jess. Exactly. For Jennie with Jess, how does GST work if you open your shop to the global community? Do they automatically see the prices without GST, or do we set up all pricing without GST and note that Australian customers need to add GST?
The second. So unless you're exclusively selling within Australia and you don't actually allow the option to sell internationally, you have to add GST as an extra tax. You can't include it in your price, because if you include it in your price, then the Scandinavians will be paying Australian GST, and that doesn't work. So it's actually
illegal.
Yeah, exactly. Very bad. So basically, there's a setting in your Etsy dashboard where you can add GST for Australians. So I'm
looking at your profile right now, Jess, as you're talking. Yeah. God, it's a good-looking shop.
Thanks, darling. So yeah, I think it's in your finances section. There's a tab there somewhere that says sales tax. So you can just hop on in there, whack in 10% for all Australian orders. So that's people who buy from, with, I think is it Jennie? I'm not sure if it's their shipping address or their financial address, or their billing address, if those two things are different. I'm not sure which one it actually uses. I think it's the residential, maybe, because it's actually being sent to an Australian address, but I'm not sure about that. But basically, it will automatically add GST for the Australian purchases. So it is a good idea to have it somewhere in your shop to let people know, hey, Aussies, you're going to have to pay GST. So you might want to put it as a note in your, down the bottom of your descriptions. Definitely have it in your policies page somewhere. And let them know that that's going to happen. And they'll see it before they pay. It's not like they're going to pay. Right now.
I've just bought I'm trying to buy your sterling silver starburst ring, women's ring, modern.
That would suit you.
Yes, so it's $111.75, and I can see that when I click on purchase, I get the shipping of $9 or so. But then, because it's a certain size, but then I can see immediately there's a tax of $11.18. So it often means you've got a slightly awkward price, like a cents on your actual item, but it's very easily recognised that you'll be paying GST on top of that.
And another thing is, because you're obviously looking at that, Clare, in Australian dollars, is that right?
Right, yes.
Yeah, well, and I actually list my prices in US dollars in my shop. And the reason I do that is because the majority of my customers in my Etsy shop are actually American, and most of them will be looking at it in USD. And that means for them, when they look at my shop, all the prices are nice and neat and tidy, whereas anyone who looks in another currency is going to see those funny, weird cent endings, because it's whatever the conversion is that day. And so for me, because of where my customers are, that's what I do in my shop. If most of your customers
I don't know
are
if you
Australian,
can see it reflected in my eyes, but I'm scanning this shop. Oh my God, because I lost my wedding ring. I took it off.
No.
The only time I ever took it off was when we were filming Offspring, and also a diamond fell out, so I took it off to get it fixed.
No.
And anyway, I lost it. So this is a fake one. This is sort of cubic zirconias, I'm sure of it. But I'm looking at your wedding ring going, yeah, if I could buy 33 of these and stack them on top. They're so beautiful.
It's always an option.
There you go. I'm back with you. But yeah, I can see that. I can see everything that you're saying.
See, the internet,
Cool.
there's an opportunity to not get distracted by online shopping. Awesome. Okay. Were you done with that one, Jess?
I think so, yeah.
Good one, Jess.
Okay, cool.
Do you want me to do a sound effect? Do you want me to?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yes.
That is so cheesy. See my
If you could warm that up for me, because I just want to say I have another question. Thank you for asking a question of myself again. And the question was, can you give us any tips on how to become a featured seller on the Etsy blog? So the good news is...
Say the word, Jen, just say the word featured seller again.
Featured seller.
Awesome.
I appreciate that. You missed your calling, isn't it?
Yeah, forgive me. Sorry.
Okay, so the answer is, the good news about becoming a featured seller is that it is much like having a successful Etsy shop, and it covers a lot of the fundamentals that we have gone through in the Etsy Resolution program. So the most important thing really is stellar photography. So you're going to want to have standout product photos, and that's really probably the #1 tip for becoming a featured seller. Apart from that, you just need to get found. So all of the fantastic tips that Jess has shared on SEO are really important. So if you're making sure that you're easily found, then you're going to be found to have more of a chance to be found to be a featured seller. So photography and SEO are key. And then the other thing is to make sure that you are telling your story, like we talked about in lesson 1. Have a about page, so that if an Etsy admin is out looking through the site and they happen upon your shop, then they can just...
Etsy Scout.
Yes, Etsy Scout. Exactly. That should be a job title. They can just click on your about page.
That's my job title. That's what I do.
So you buy things at the end. So
I do. I buy.
Which is also a great outcome. So that the Etsy admin can just like click on your about page and easily see your story and make a connection with you. So yeah, product photography, SEO, and great about page and adhesive branding are my tips for becoming a featured seller. Maybe some applause.
Oh, sorry. Excuse me. I meant. And a third one. That was amazing.
That feels good. Okay, so let's go along the same lines. A sort of similar question for Jess from Haley. And she wants to know, what is the best piece of advice you can give for getting products featured in magazines?
Okay. Photos, really, I think is #1. And if you're like me and you have product photos in your shop that aren't actually white background photos, a good thing to do is actually to make sure at least a small selection of your photos, you get some white, just plain white background shots. And the reason for that is because a lot of magazines will do layouts where they'll like pull different images together. You've all seen them where, stuff's all, different products are all kind of put together, kind of like a polyvore or something like that. And so by having your products with a nice white background, then you can actually send them those photos, they can pull them out and put them in their spread really, really easily. So kind of, make sure that you have photos that make it easy for people to feature you. So a lot of magazines will be happy to use non-white background photos as well. I mean, just look through like Frankie and Peppermint and they have all sorts of stuff going on, which is awesome. So really just having really, really awesome photos and then contacting people. Don't wait for them to find you. If there's a magazine you want to get featured in, reach out to them. Do your research, find the right person to email, and send them a quick email like we talked about in the PR lesson, and go from there. I mean, that's how I think my first proper official magazine feature was in Peppermint, and it's because I reached out to them and actually said, hey, I'm here, I make eco sterling silver wedding rings in Brisbane, thought you might be interested because it's kind of up your alley, and it was. So yeah, it's, have excellent photos and reach out.
Jess, you're mirroring exactly what Jo Walker, who's the editor of Frankie, said. She's a legend to all. Love that woman. She was a speaker at the Big Heart of Business Unconference last year, and she gave an incredible 50-minute keynote, which, she said exactly what you're saying. Keep in mind, obviously, who the target audience is. Who is it? Which magazine? Like, would my work, for example, does my work look better would it suit Mamma Mia, because we're talking about online blogs as well, would it suit Peppermint, would it suit Frankie, is it more of a woman's weekly kind of affair? But, basically when you do contact that magazine, when you do contact that blog, make it very easy for them to say yes. A short introduction. Hello, this is who I am, this is what I make, as Jess just said she did, and then make it easy for them to say yes, and essentially you're letting them know that you're making it easier for them to do their job. And what is a magazine trying to do? It's trying to represent, their audience. It's trying to make themselves look good, if we're going to be really, really simple, and, provide high-quality work. So why would Lucy Fagans, for example, choose someone to feature on the design files? There's a step before all of this, and that is this one, which I know Lucy would consider. Make your work good. Make it beautiful. Make it incredible. Make it stunning. If you want to be featured on something ace, then be ace. It's really simple. Don't necessarily, we all start somewhere. You've got to start somewhere. But as you go on, hopefully more of your voice, who you are, comes through your work, who you uniquely are. And that's what's interesting to someone like Lucy, or, to the editors of, or whoever these Etsy scouts are, or, whoever the editor of Frankie is. What is it that you're doing that's unique in yourself, and how can you, start with good work and then think about the photography on top of that?
Absolutely. Having a good product is the foundation.
Yeah.
I think something that Jess, you touched on about photography, which was, you were like, I'm going to be really blunt here and say that if you don't have good photos, you're going to really struggle in having.
I love that you said that, though. You've got to say it out loud because it's the truth.
Yeah. But then she also qualified it with, don't forget that just because your photos aren't brilliant right now doesn't mean you shouldn't get started. Because you've got to start somewhere and then move on. And I think that really goes to the same as product. You really learn and figure things out as you're going. So, yeah, you have to have a good product if you're going to have a successful shop. But you also have to start at the beginning and, keep learning.
Oh, my gosh, start. So I actually wrote a post on Create yesterday that was a bit of a kick in the pants, perhaps, for some people, because it just makes me so sad when I see people with all these ideas and these products and these dreams, and then they just are stuck, and they're stuck because they're like, oh, it's not good enough, it's not perfect enough. When I get this thing perfect, then I'll start my business, or when I get this thing perfect, then I'll put it out in the world. I'm like, just put it out there now.
I didn't know it was that noise. Sorry. Don't be sad. It said it was a sad noise. Don't be sad.
Don't be sad, and don't be scared, because we're all scared all the time. Every time we put something out there into the world, it's scary because you don't know how people are going to take it. You don't know how people are going to respond, and they could love it, they could hate it, but you'll never know until you put it out there, and you'll never start. You've got to start, because if you never start, you don't get the feedback, and you don't get that, that helps you grow, that feedback. It's really important. And once you put something out there into the world, and every time you do it, you build your courage muscle a little bit more, and every time you do it, it gets stronger and stronger. It's just like building any other muscle, and you'll get braver and braver, and it'll become easier to put something else out there into the world.
And then
none of us
have terrible days where you're just like, oh my God, I wish I'd never started at all. And that's when you're a friend to go, no, you did good. You started. You did what most people don't do, and then you carry on from there. It's not some perfect, science of you try it once and then you feel forever contented.
No,
I did
and you
read
never
a story
don't.
once where that happened, but I've never in real life with someone that happened. Ever.
No, never, ever. And you never reach a point where you're confident 100% that the next thing you put out there is going to work.
Unless you're American. And sometimes that...
They're just pretending. It's not.
I love them.
They're just better at pretending that they're not scared. But they are. Everybody is.
Yeah.
That has been the coolest thing to me about this Etsy resolution program as a whole, is having people write in and say, oh my goodness, I was not happy with my product, I was critical of my photography, I wanted to have a website or a new logo or whatever fandangle thing that they wanted, and I didn't have it. And then I joined Etsy Resolution, and I had to just like give it a go and put it out there and open my shop and list something. And oh my God, I sold something. And if I hadn't done it, obviously I would have never sold that thing. So I think that's happened to so many people along this adventure that that's a sign that that's what happens. Like, put it out there and someone can buy it. Don't put it out there, no one can buy it. No one can give you feedback. You'll never get started. So that's
Can I just say,
adventure.
I still remember the moment that I got my first sale on Etsy, and it's the first time that I'd ever sold anything I'd made, because I was not, before then, I was not a creative person. Well, I didn't think of myself as a creative person, right? This was kind of a thing that came onto me later in life. And I can clearly picture the moment where I saw that email. It was like a $10 pair of earrings or something. And my heart started pounding, and I was like, oh my God, somebody valued what I've created enough to give me money for it. That's amazing. And money is time, and time is life. So they're exchanging a little teeny bit of their life for something I've created. And it was an absolute, just joyful moment, and I got addicted to that feeling. And that feeling, honestly, has never gone away. Every time I get one of those sale emails, I still feel really excited. And that's a wonderful thing. So, I hope you experience that if you haven't already very, very soon, because it's really motivating and it keeps you going, and it makes you realize that, you're doing something cool, you're putting something out into the world that people value, and, that's the first step along the journey.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. All right. Well, we're going to cross back to Claire for probably what will be one of our last questions, I would say, and then we might get.
Oh, it just keeps getting worse. I'm so sorry. I really should have these before I tried that.
Obviously, I didn't test on these sound effects, and it wouldn't have been as funny if we did. But you have to do this before we talk about feelings, because we have to put on our serious faces. And this is another really good question. And who is it from? I need to know who it's from. Veronica, I think. The question is, Claire.
Yeah.
How do you personally manage the fine balance between making art and making money?
Sweet, good question. I don't always manage the fine balance. It's a fine balance, so it means I cock it up all the time. But the truth is, I'm very lucky now when it comes to money. It took many years of seriously working to get to this point, but here I am. I would say the very first thing I'd like to say before that is I'm very clear on who I am. I'm an artist first, and I always will be. I became a business person or someone who makes my living doing what I love because I love it so much that I finally got the courage to give it a crack. And I've said give it a crack about 43 times this interview or this conversation because I often think of what would happen if I hadn't. I was so uncomfortable with the thought of making money out of music that from the age of 16 to 26, I tried not to think about it very much at all. But eventually got to a point where I just said, well, if I don't start thinking about how to make money doing this, then I'll go back and work at the call centre or at Ishko, which is a lovely shop in Melbourne, or I'll study my whole life, and I won't put my music in the world. And I didn't hear the kind of music that I was making when I started making it. And I wanted other women and other men to be able to hear that music. Some part of me felt that it might have some value. So I guess, yeah, that's how I even could begin to have a conversation about how to make money out of my art. I know that artists these days, people of my daughter's generation or my friends who are younger, they're not as scared of this conversation as I was when I was in my 20s. But if you're anything like me, I'd just say it's actually okay. In fact, it's good to make your living out of art. And I look to people that I've admired, like Patti Smith or Nick Cave or Deborah Conway or people in Australia, Paul Kelly. All of these people. I'm talking about music, obviously, but also Kate Tucker or interesting artists who I love. I encourage. I love the fact that they can make their living as artists. That's really important. So I guess that's, I hope that helps to explain some of the way. What I would say probably, because we have such a condensed time frame, if you get a chance, go and listen to some of the inspiration bombs on my site and listen to what the people I've interviewed, people like Maury Schwartz or any of them, really, any of these incredible people have to say, or Wally DeBacca, Gautier, have to say about this question, because the worst thing you can do is not articulate it and just let it cripple you and be embarrassed by it. There's no real point in that. You're an artist. If you're an artist first, you're always going to be an artist first, and then you got to get realistic about how can you, with integrity, ask for what you're worth. Yeah, and again, if you feel discouraged about it, try for as long as you can and be really bold and learn and change, and there is always some degree of strategy. I release my albums through a record company. They're very clever with giving me feedback and being honest with me about what they think will work and won't work. They're not the bosses, though, of the music, and they say that to me. They leave it up to me to make final decisions, because that's the thing that I can do, be the artist. But don't be afraid of asking people a little further down the track, or people with more knowledge, how can I be more clever with this part of my career? The music's good, now how do I get it out there? And you can look at the success of sort of recent artists like Chet Faker or whoever, and just go, there's been a lot of thought that's gone into how to make that a success, and part of that thought has to involve a conversation around money, and that's good. That's the way it should be. I hope that's helpful. Happy birthday.
Yay! Cake for you.
Oh my God, that's totally from our
Speaking of Chet Baker, just hey, pussycat.
Okay, next question. I don't actually know why these are on me right now.
You can't escape it, Jenny. It's there now.
You're thrilled.
This is from our test run of Etsy Resolution yesterday, when we were mucking around with these crazy Google effects. All right.
Hey.
Right along. I'll just go to so that I can deal with this situation. One last quick one, Jess. If you could just answer this question from Rachel. Can you please go over some legalities of running an Etsy shop in Australia? Do you need to register your business name, purchase product liability insurance, and check trademarks?
First of all, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not an accountant, I'm not in the government. I can't give you yes or no advice, but my advice would be to go read the government website. So go to the ASIC website to find out about business registration, go to business.gov.au because they have a lot of really good information about your business. Go to the ATO website and read what they have to say about tax. Learn from the people who tell you yes or no answers and actually have the answers to all of these questions. Another thing, insurance. So, it is an important thing to look into and think about, what insurance you need to cover you for your business. I can't recommend any particular insurance, but I would like to tell you about a few options. Rather than just buying insurance outright, there are some organisations and associations that you can actually become a member of and gain insurance via being part of those associations. So a couple of them are Craft Victoria. They offer product liability insurance, public liability insurance, and professional indemnity insurance, I think, as part of their association membership, accredited membership. There's other ones as well. I know Flying Arts do some insurance as well, and often these will cover you for things like markets. They'll cover you for if you want to do some workshops and things like that. So do your research, decide what you need insurance for, and then go looking for the people who offer, you know, what you need, basically. But yeah, do investigate the associations, because they will probably, you know, chances are, hopefully, they will give you the insurance that you need, and it will be affordable. And you'll get some other benefits as well, which is really awesome, being part of those associations. So, yeah, have a look into that.
Awesome. Thanks, Jess. All right, well, we're kind of at time, but I'm just going to throw quickly to Claire and Jess for, you know, this is time to say goodbye. So any, like, parting advice or quick goodbyes, no tears. We'll start with Jess.
Oh, put me on the spot. No, I think, look, we've covered a lot in today's Q&A, so I'd advise you, you know, go back, watch it again, hang out in the Facebook group, use that community. You know, learning from other people, it's the way to go. You know, I used to be a teacher. I'm really big on peer learning, so, you know, learning from the people in your peer group, because even though you might all be in similar stages, you don't all know the same stuff. You all have learnt different stuff, and you've all come at it from a different direction. So everybody's got knowledge to share, and everybody's got knowledge to give and take from each other. So yeah, be part of that community, be an active member of that community and any other community that you know, find of like-minded people. I think that's really powerful, and I think it's really important, especially for those of us who are creative, and those of us who are like me, who live in practically the middle of nowhere and don't go to an office every day and have people I can chat with around the water cooler. So, you know, the internet is my water cooler. It's where my colleagues are, and it's where I learn from other people. And so, you know, really take advantage of that. And you know, that you need that support from people who understand you. A lot of the time, you know, you hear a lot of people who say that, you know, my family don't understand or my friends don't understand because they don't really get what I'm doing. You need to find the people who get what you're doing, and they will support you because they understand, and they can say, hey, you know, I get it, I understand, I've dealt with this issue before, here's what I did. And Claire, you know, talked about that earlier with the mothers group thing, or, you know, finding a group of friends. And that's a really, 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 really important thing, because there are tough days and you need somebody who you can bounce stuff off when something goes wrong, and they can, you know, either give you advice or just be someone who'll go, you know what, it's all good. You'll be fine. You'll get through it. Tomorrow's another day, and tomorrow's something, or even next minute is another minute, and something awesome will happen. So, you know, take part in that community, and that's really powerful. And just start, and just take teeny little tiny steps every single day. Do one thing, or two things, or three things, and just something small. And with patience and dedication and perseverance and grit, you'll make it happen.
Just sorry, I'm just having a minor coughing fit in the background. Claire?
Aww. I think Jess just said what she said really beautifully, and really on behalf of all of us. I think it was pretty beautifully said. And the only thing I would add to that, or you know, something that I can add to that, is this: 2015 has been a wild ride. Life can change it with the flip of a coin. My feeling is, you know, so many of us who are trying to do what we love and make our living doing that and save the world, as we like to say, take ourselves quite seriously quite often, and we really can drive ourselves mad with our self-criticism, or just, you know, our ability to remember that we're actually all works in progress. So what I'm saying, and what I'm seeing in the Facebook community, is lots of you know, good self-acceptance and reminders that we're all just giving it a crack. As I keep saying, it's the give it a crack hour for and so don't take yourself too seriously. It's not life or death. We're just trying to sell a few cool things and get them out into the world. You know, we're just trying to make things and, you know, work with to the best of our ability with integrity. If you still have a day job, good. Keep the day job, you know, big deal. Keep the day job until you can make this work. It's not the end of the world. You can take your time with it. There is no urgent rush, you know, that you're that
There's
you
no
have to do it
ticking time bomb.
There's no, hey, I've got an effect for that.
Oh,
Hey.
is there? Ah.
Hey. That was unplanned, unscripted. That's just a genius and arbitrary. Yeah. So that's all I want to keep saying. It's just a reminder to me at the moment. Life is first, you know. Life comes first and business comes second. It's something that we do to allow us to live a fulfilled life. So just keep it in the right order and you'll be just fine. And I'm sending all of my love. Jess and Jen, it has been, I'll just say quickly, it has been so lovely to hang out with you and be able to present this. And thank you. You know, thanks for the opportunity. I'm very honoured to have been asked to contribute my feelings to this. Thank you.
It's been awesome. I'm honoured to be here as well. So thanks, guys. It was lovely working with you.
You're beautiful. Everybody's searching for a hero. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you so much for lending your advice. I know everyone's found it really invaluable. And if there are questions that I know some questions haven't been answered tonight, we'll get to those over on the Facebook group. And if you have other questions that have come up, please I will be over in the Facebook group for the rest of the week. These guys are signing out of the Etsy Resolution Program, and because everyone has been running, you know, at their own pace, and I'm going to keep hanging out there for a while. So I'll still be there if you've got questions. Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. See you guys over at the Facebook group, and thank you, Claire and Jess. Goodbye. Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.